so very much for being back. It's still Enterprise Morning, reaching you from Enterprise Television. Let's get talking with our main conversation for today. The new management of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, has sacked the managing director of the Port Harcourt, Warri and Kaduna refineries alongside other senior officials, including Bala Wunti. Officials with less than 1 year to retirement were also asked to leave. This move follows President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's April 2nd dismissal of former NNPCL Group CEO Mele Kyari and the entire board, citing poor performance and stagnant production output. Insiders described the reshuffle as a performance-based overhaul aimed at reversing years of inefficiency. New production targets include 2 million barrels of crude oil per day by 2027 and 3 million by 2030. For gas, the goal is 10 billion cubic meters by 2030. The Warri Refinery, despite an $897 million revamp, was shut down on January 2025 due to safety issues. The Port Harcourt Refinery, which resumed in November 2024, remains below 40% capacity. Bayo Ojolari now heads the restructured technocrat-led team. That's all we have for today. Now let's get talking. I still have with me Emeka Madunagu. Thank you so very much, Emeka, for being here. All right, I think we'll still have... thank you so very much, Emeka. We truly do appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm still here. Yes,
all right, beautiful. All right, so let's get talking. I know we had talked a little bit about it during our newspaper's review. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one leader that's more fictitious than he is more realistic with issues. He has come up again to say there would be oil boom in 2030. And the question is, what do you think is the rationale? Does he really understand the rules of engagement and what it takes to have an oil boom in any nation in the world? Of course, I'm using Nigeria as an example in this case.
Well, the world is interestingly trying to transition to clean energy. By 2035, vehicles in the European Union, the European Union is expecting that by 2035, it would have, significantly phased out fossil fuels, vehicles, using fossil fuels. So it's looking basically at renewable energy. So now looking at an oil boom by 2030, when even the federal government itself, where Tinubu is, the presidential villa is transitioning from the national grid, to a 10 billion naira solar grid. That tells you that, of course, their expectations are not properly aligned with present and future realities. So while they say one thing here, they do another thing there. And that is a problem of, the absence of a strategic communication. If the world is, moving towards a clean energy, yes, we know that for the developing world, developing countries like Nigeria, they'll still largely be dependent on fossil fuels. But we're not going to be selling the crude to ourselves. It's just the products from the refining of crude that we're going to be selling to ourselves, and not all the products. So definitely, when we're looking at 2030, we should be talking about transitioning. Like I was discussing with some friends yesterday, we were saying that, look, anybody who wants to invest in Nigeria's power sector now should just basically focus on renewable energy. If you come in and say, oh, I'm going to build a gas station, I'm going to build a power station, I'm going to build, what's it called? I'm going to build maybe any kind of station, anything that's not clean energy. Of course, that might be an investment that will go down the drain within a few years. So definitely, it is very, very important, for for us to face the reality and smell the coffee, like he said. So talking about an oil boom, look at oil prices. Oil prices have dropped to the 60s, and with the way the United States President Donald Trump is going, You know, I mean, he has said he's not even interested in high oil prices. He's more interested in pumping heavily, you know, and not interested in a price hike, in high prices that will lead, you know, high oil prices that will lead to, you know, that will push up the, you know, he's not interested in high oil prices. He's rather interested in the United States pumping like 30 million, you know, ramping up to 30 million barrels per day, which is what Saudi Arabia is thinking about. And then OPEC is talking about, you know, raising its, you know, the production quota of members. But of course, when you look at it, with the way, you know, when you have a combination of factors, you find out that it's really it's really unrealistic for Nigeria to think that you know, there'll be, you know, that there'll be an oil boom, to use your words. It's better we face the reality of the imminence of, you know, the dominance of clean energy, and that way we'll, you know, we'll actually be facing the reality.
You know, very true, Emeka. It's very important that we are futuristic with our thoughts and our actions. China, of course, which is like at the forefront of reducing its carbon emission, are quickly transitioning to cleaner energy. Nigeria, of course, is not thinking towards that light, and that's actually very so unfortunate. But speak to us on the matter of the federal government, which hopes to ban the importation of solar panels into Nigeria. Do you think it's possible for us to realize sustainable transition when there's a ban in solar panels in Nigeria? I think we have a little bit of a glitch there. Emeka would be right back if we still have it.
No, I'm here.
Okay,
I'm
beautiful.
here. Yes. Placing a ban on imposition of solar panels. I mean, the thing is that the way our leaders think, oh my, you just feel so sorry for them. There is little thought, you know, put into, it's just knee-jerk policies. Somebody just says, oh, why don't we just ban importation of solar panels so that we can force people to come and produce them here? First of all, you don't have power supply. You don't have regular power supply. How are you going to achieve that? Then much of the inputs will come from abroad. You need to import much of the inputs. And you can't be doing that now when there is a serious tariff war going on. You will tide, you wait. You wait and see what happens. Donald Trump has said 90 days. Let's put in a 90-day freeze. That's about, is that not 3 months? You hold on and see how things pan out. Then you now work out your move strategically so that you don't end up burning your fingers. Because if you say you don't want you know, finished products to come in, fine. One other thing will now be maybe completely knocked down parts, CKDs coming in, you know, I mean, so that they will be assembled in Nigeria, like you have in the auto manufacturing sector, I'm sorry, with you know, SIN and some of those other organizations. So when you now talk about solar panels, you need to give yourself time, maybe 10 years, maybe plan towards it. 10 years and say, okay, even if it's not our government, even if it's another government, at least we hope to have put settings in place which will guide them, which, you know, will help them to achieve this target of, you know, the local production of solar panels and inputs. But when you just wake up, because you say that one company has said it to start producing in Nigeria, and then in the auto sector, have you banned the importation of used vehicles? Have you banned? Why haven't you banned the importation of Tokumbo vehicles in the auto sector? Even though we have a number of companies assembling vehicles. What about in the telecom sector? Some of your inputs, you can say, are being produced in Nigeria. Why have you not banned the importation of phones, the importation of chargers, and all of those accessories? So you need to give yourself time. But this, excuse me, this idea that you can just wake up and just throw one policy out, just throw money at the problem, it will not work. It will be counterproductive. And that's not helpful. Thank you.
Very true, Emeka. It will never be helpful. But if we may, looking at the crux of the matter here, NNPC and the reshuffling going on with Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and the Warri refineries. Does Dangote Refinery, has he got anything to fear about? Because of the reshuffle means possibly that there might be a series of overhaul on the refineries again. So do you think Dangote has anything to be scared of right now?
No, Dangote has nothing to be scared of. Look, at this point, let government sell those refineries. Call the owners of all these private refineries, the modular refineries, Dangote Refinery, and all of that. Call them together. Have a roundtable discussion with them. Oil consumption of petrol, PMS, has gone down from 62 million barrels, like they said, per day, to 25 million, to 12.5 million barrels per day. And we can still bring it down. Because you see, the federal government, through the presidential initiative, federal government has been investing in CNG conversion. So a lot of people are undergoing training. Very soon you will see more CNG plants around the country. A place like Borno State, the state government has invested heavily in installing in refitting vehicles to use has invested heavily, in electric vehicles. So you will find those rickshaws, those kekes, motorcycles, mass transit vehicles. There are, there are a number of them that are using, that are driven by, that are charged. They don't need fossil fuels. You go to University of Lagos, there are some shuttle buses that are, that are electric vehicles. You go left and right here, you go in a number of, like Lagos and some parts of the country, you see vehicles being powered by CNG. So I think, gradually you just find a shift. If we can bring down the, consumption of PMS down to maybe like 3 million barrels per day. Of course, if people start, a lot of the consumption, by the way, is because of the inefficiencies in the electricity sector. So there, if solar panels, if this alternative source of energy, can be affordable, a lot of people will move away from the national grid. A lot of people will move away from the national grid, and you'll find out that people won't need to be buying fuel to power their generators. That is the major thing. That's the major issue right now, still pushing up demand. But if a lot of Nigerians, are able to do away with their generators, they won't need to buy petrol, PMS. They won't need to buy diesel. So if there are alternatives, so just that it's expensive now. If you want to get something that can power, a moderate household of, 2 bedrooms, and all of, you need like 1.6 to 2 million naira. How can a family with an average income, be able to afford that, unless government decides to pour in money, invest in, credit, so that maybe people can collect a loan of maybe 2 million and pay over maybe 3 years or 5 years, maybe civil servants, people working in the private sector, employed, even some self-employed people. I understand that there are banks right now that are giving, credit for, they are giving loans, financing the acquisition of home solar appliances. But the interesting thing is that the instability of the stock exchange is another, the instability of the currency, the exchange rate, is another problem. Look at the Naira today, fell again to 1,615. So those things are also affecting the purchasing power of the people. But if, let's say, the government could find a way to tweak the exchange rate and move it to like maybe below 1,000 naira, of course, a lot of things will change. the economy will breathe better. Then he can now say, okay, that the electricity from national grid should go to industries. So if he can go to industries at rates that are affordable, because I know some industries that have actually disconnected from the national grid. Some have even, reduced their dependence on national grid. What they do, I know one, clearly, that once it's 6 p.m., they switch to solar. They switch to solar to power, because they shut down by 6. Their workers, they close up by 6 p.m. So once it's 6 p.m., they change to solar, and so in that way, they're able to reduce their bills. If the presidential winner can be talking of 47 billion naira annually, what are we talking about? How come? It means that we were talking of some people, some ignorant people were saying the other time that electricity is one of the cheapest in the world. But look at it, 47 billion. Does the White House pay all that? Do other presidential palaces around the world, do they pay 47 billion? They pay 47 billion naira annually? When we talk about cutting the cost of government, those are some of the things we are talking about. Okay, what is 47 billion? What are they producing? What are they producing? Just a couple of people. How many people are in the Aso Villa? Are they up to 10,000 people? So what is all this? And then, you're talking of solar, you're talking of 10 billion naira. 10 billion naira will provide solar for about, for thousands of households in Nigeria. So when we do some of these things, you see, it should not be about put in my pocket, money available for the boys. But rather, this thing should be solutions driven. There should be the idea that, okay, if we're moving away from fossil fuels to clean energy, it's going to be a transition. It's going to be a transition. So, by the way, you don't need to, the discos, for instance, don't need to only depend on gas and hydro. They can also, we can have investors in solar who will also supply the national grid and provide backup, provide a solid backup for the national grid. But basically what we need is that we need to ramp up production, manufacturing in this country, because two things, manufacturing and agriculture are two areas where you can ensure massive employment. But you see people talking about ICT. No, ICT is an offshoot from manufacturing, because your ICT, you cannot power your ICT if you don't have the necessary tools, if you don't have regular electricity, if you don't have trained tech manpower. So, but you see, agriculture and manufacturing can employ so many people. Then you can gradually scale up to the more sophisticated areas, such that you find out that the economy can breathe more easily.
Yes, but Emeka,
so they should just perish the thought of banning the importation of solar panels and all of those things.
It's actually very, very true, to what you have said, and there's so many other submissions that you have, of course, put across on Enterprise Television. And you are not alone with this. If Mr. Onakpasa wants media personnel to Mr. Tinubu is complaining bitterly on how the president has lost focus on good governance, had made Nigerians pay through their nose for everything, had led Nigerians to the gallows of poverty. How much more are we talking about? But I would love you to finally, close with how do you think the president might fare on this particular matter of oil boom come 2030? Do you think he is doing that with respect to the fact that Owando, which his nephew is running, is a part of? Therefore, the federal government might possibly be making opportunity for a business that is indirectly tied to him to flourish with the oil boom proposition for 2030.
No. Bayo Julare, the new GMD of NNPCL, is actually an upstream person. He has spent so many years in the upstream. And his focus is basically on the upstream, increasing Nigeria's oil production. So it doesn't matter whoever comes to play, the president's wife, the president's son, the president's daughter, whoever, let people come in and play. But the issue is that let there be a level playing field. You know, we cannot, they are citizens of Nigeria now. We cannot say because of their affiliation with the president and that they should be denied opportunities that are available to other people. No, I don't subscribe to that. That's why I say, for instance, I talk about agriculture. Agriculture, we have 55 million, million hectares of arable land in Nigeria. So if we can remove those fellows who are in the forest causing problems in the forest and all of that, we can remove those people from the forest. If the governors can be more proactive, you know, working with the president to remove all those kinds of people, you know, and then ensure that the National Livestock Transformation Plan is implemented so that we move away from open grazing to, you know, ranching. Of course, you find out that you can pump many people into different, you know, you can spin off many value chains from agriculture. The same thing from manufacturing. You'll not be able to spin off services. You'll not be able to spin off, you know, different things in the oil and gas sector. Because don't forget, from the oil and gas sector, you get fertilizers, you get pesticides, you get all of those things that you need to power. You get a lot of things that you need to power agriculture. So, I mean, it's a win-win situation for us. If we can get more investors, you know, in all the sectors, the upstream, the midstream, and the downstream of the oil industry, of course, it will be to the advantage of Nigerians. But a situation where we have to regularly rely on imports is something that must stop. We must get to a point where we say no more. We will no longer import a liter of PMS or diesel. Now, if there is power supply, I'll tell you that we can achieve that, because you'll be able to calculate where is the production going to. That will take 650,000 barrels per day. You know, of course, he will be doing a lot of exporting to countries that need them, and then we can, you know, have the economy running better. But you see, the problem with some of these people, you know, running propaganda for the government is they just take everything to them is a nail. You know, anybody who criticizes the government, you know, has to be fought with a sledgehammer. You know, that's not intellectual. That's not an intellectual way to engage issues. That's what we're trying to tell them. When Mele Kyari, former MD, you know, GMD of NNPCL, was talking about Warri Revamp, we told him it will not work. That you're just wasting money. When they said they took a loan of $1.5 billion, you know, was it 2019, to fix Port Harcourt Refinery, we told them this money is going to go down the drain. This money is going to go down the drain. What you do, sell up these refineries. Invest more in upstream. Let private players, you know, there are private players in the upstream. If you want to play in downstream, fine. If you want to play, but those refineries, I'm sorry, they are brownfields. They are obsolete refineries. You can keep spending, you spent almost $1 billion, $897 million on trying to fix one refinery, and yet you don't have anything working in that refinery. Then why are we deceiving ourselves? But they will come shout, hey, this, that, he hates Tinubu. What's my business with hating or loving Tinubu? I don't give a hoot about who is the president or who is anything. My interest is that I want a working country. I want a country, I want to be part of a country that works. That's my interest. I don't care about all these. But you see, Nigeria will always reduce serious discussions to, oh, okay, he's talking because the person involved is from his ethnic group or is from his religion. What is wrong with us as a people? The level of intellectualism has gone down. Even people well-educated with PhDs, the way they reason these days, you will even find that, you know, tire repairers, you know, artisans even reason better than many of these people with PhDs. Because the level of intellectualism has gone down. It's very shameful. Even the media is not helping matters. Look at right now, when we should be looking at metrics, measurable indices, you know, unemployment, on poverty, you know, fighting poverty, eradicating poverty, you know, increasing food production, ensuring food security. What are we talking about? 2027. And the media is just interested. 2027, what is all that? What should we be talking about 2027 when a lot of families don't know where the next meal is coming from? When people cannot pay their rent, they cannot pay school fees. I mean, why are we doing these things to ourselves? We're just engaging in self-immolation, and it's not helping us. That's the reality. How many people now are earning a take-home pay? How many people can say that their pay can take them home? A lot of things. There's just so much insecurity. They're talking about 2027. Huh? It's sad. It's sad. Discussing issues about Nigeria, it's really draining. It drains your mental energy because people don't want to engage in helpful discourse. Because why? They have been so used to poverty. They have been so used to being shortchanged. They have been so used to staying without power supply and being told, if you don't have power, go and buy a generator. Being told all kinds of things, being cheated. So they become a part and parcel of the very things that violate their human rights, and they defend those things. It's very wrong.
Very, very
true.
Look
at the leaders taking care of themselves. The 10 billion naira solar grid at Asoro, and they don't care about the people. And some people who have not had a decent meal in a long while will be defending them. All these things will not help us. We need to stop Paul. It will not help us. That's the truth. That's why I see some people leaving the country, locating the Japan, because they're not interested in Nigeria's matters. Whether Nigeria survives or not, they don't care. Because you can't find many people who are reasonable, who want to discuss issues as issues. Everything must boil down to unnecessary inanities. So if we're talking of, for instance, ramping up oil production, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. But at the same time, we must realize that we need to have a solid conversation about the future of oil and gas, about the future of hydrocarbons. So if we're going to have a national policy on alternative energy, what is that policy? Do we have a national policy on alternative energy? We're talking of increasing. Right now, oil production is about 1.6, 1.7 million barrels per day. How are we going to ramp them up? Bayo Julare has said, he has rolled out ambitious plans and all of that. But I think maintaining those refineries should not be part of those plans.
Very true, Emeka.
Sell those refineries. Honestly, Obasanjo, as president, he beat the silver bullet. He sold them. But sadly, Yar'Adua allowed himself to be misled into reversing the sale. That was a major setback for this country. If those refineries had remained sold, by now we won't be talking of removing subsidy or devaluing, because President Tinubu came in, he was misled into removing subsidy and at the same time devaluing the naira. If he had only removed subsidy, maybe somehow the prices would have stabilized. But the killer punch was the devaluation of the naira. And where are your exports? If you are devaluing the naira because your exports, you have a lot of things you can export. Good and fine. People say, okay, fine, no problem. You don't need to be scrambling for dollars and all of that because our exports will be bringing in dollars. But we really need to, have strategic conversations around these issues.
Very true. Very, very, very true, Emeka. This cannot be better said. It's so very unfortunate that despite the technocrats that we have, most of them PhD holders, most of them professors, helping this administration to do what they know how to do best. But sadly, like you said, we have people who haven't even gone through the four walls of school, really becoming more useful than many of this very great technocrats, unfortunately, because everyone currently is busy playing politics rather than concentrating on good governance, which for us is the most important thing. Thank you so very much once more, Emeka, for being here. We truly do appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right, people, that's just the time we have for today. We'd love to say thank you for making it a day with us. Please, you can always reach out, if you may, by visiting us at enterprisetvnews.com. You may equally like, comment, and follow us on all our social media platforms at Enterprise TV 7. I am Henry Igwebike. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.